What is up, everybody? In this video I want to talk Piscean fatalism and the Taurus counterpoint. Is it because I have a Pisces stellium in my 11th house of networking? Yes. But it's also because I have Taurus ascendant. And I've experienced some fucking crazy ass shit in the last 21 years I've been on this earth. Like a lot of people, right? I mean, I'm not going to talk about it in this video, but it's also conjunct fixed star algol. If you don't know what that is, I suggest you subject yourself to watching my other videos. With peace and love, subscribe, share if you care, and if you dare. So, in a second, there we go. Alright. So I call this the abyss and the anchor, but I'll mainly title the video Piscean fatalism and the Taurus counterpoint. So in the astrological tradition, a few signs have been persistently misunderstood than Pisces. Few. Popular horoscopes paint the sign as dreamy, artistic, and compassionately dissolved into the collective ether. But this superficial reading obscures a darker, more philosophically complex current that runs through the Piscean psyche. One that tilts decisively toward fatalism, nihilism, and a particularly refined form of cynicism. Alright, let's talk about the mutable water of cosmic dissolution. So Pisces occupies the 12th and final house of the zodiac, which is the house and place of endings, boundaries being dissolved, and the collapse of individual identity back into the primordial soup. Unlike Aries, which asserts I am, Pisces asks, what does I even mean? This is not gentle mysticism, it is ontological crises as baseline orientation. And that's because we're talking about how Aries is the very first sign and Pisces is at the very last. So it's really just the house of death, to be honest with you. I mean, we can also say the 8th house, but the 8th house is more shared resources. Where do you get money from other people? So, and it's more like occult stuff. Alright. So, essentially, the fatalism of Pisces emerges directly from its rulership structure. Traditional astrology assigns Jupiter to Pisces alongside Sagittarius, while modern astrology adds Neptune. The Jupiterian dimension produces expansion without discrimination, a yes to everything that quickly becomes a yes to nothing in particular. When every possibility is equally real, the very concept of choice becomes meaningless. What remains is the sense that events simply unfold through you, not because of you. Neptune intensifies this through its function of dissolving boundaries between the self and other, self and universe even. Cause and effect. The Piscean intuits, like myself, often correctly, that what we call free will is largely narrative illusion. Their fatalism is not the grim determinism of Saturnine Capricorn or the karmic ledger of Scorpio. It is more radical, the recognition that even the chooser is a fiction. Alright, let's talk about the cynicism of the over-permeable. So the cynical Pisces is a figure that mainstream astrology hesitates to acknowledge, yet it is pervasive. Cynicism, properly understood, is not mere negativity, but the disappointed idealism of one who once believed too much. The Pisces child often possesses genuine clairvoyant permeability. They feel everything, absorb everyone's emotional weather, and intuit the hidden currents beneath social performance. What happens to such a child in a world that punishes that sensitivity? I.e. my father and my mother and my sister and my brother and the radical church I went to growing up. They learn that sincerity is exploited. That boundaries are necessary precisely because others have none, and that most human behavior is theater. The adult Pisces cynicism is therefore not born from hardness, but from having been too soft for too long. It is the armor of the empath who has been flayed one too many times. Now, the cynicism manifests as characteristic Piscean irony, the tendency to say nothing matters, not with the fiery defiance of Sagittarius or the cold calculation of Aquarius, but with a weary, almost affectionate resignation. It is the laugh of the Bodhisattva who has seen 10,000 cycles of the same human folly. Meaning Pisces is also the sign of reincarnation. Alright. So let's talk about nihilism as spiritual technology. So Piscean nihilism deserves careful distinction from the aggressive, meaning-asserting nihilism of, say, an unhealthy Aries or Scorpio. Now, Pisces does not typically rage against the void. They swim in it. Why? Because they're fishes, right? So their nihilism is closer to Buddhist sunyata, the recognition that all phenomena are empty of inherent existence, including meaning itself. But where Buddhism offers this recognition as liberation, Pisces often experiences it as paralysis. If nothing inherently matters, then any action is as valid and as pointless as any other. This is not the active nihilism that rejects meaning to create its own. It is the passive nihilism that simply stops choosing. The Pisces stereotype of indecision, escapism, and going with the flow is actually this philosophical position lived out daily. Why exert agency when agency is illusory? The fish swimming in opposite directions in the Pisces glyph represents this beautifully. The soul torn between the personal and the transpersonal, the material and the spiritual, ultimately arriving at neither. This is not balance, it is suspension. Now I want to talk about Taurus in more detail. The antidote that fish cannot swallow. So let's enter Taurus here. So Pisces polar opposite in the natural zodiac, separated by 150 degrees. Literally, what is that? Quincunx. So not even a clean opposition, but a quincunx. An awkward, non-understanding aspect. Where Pisces dissolves, Taurus solidifies. Where Pisces questions the reality of the self, Taurus asserts, I have, as a natural extension of I am. Because why? Taurus is naturally the second sign in the zodiac, right after Aries. So we're bringing that energy in. Taurus operates from a metaphysical position directly counter to Pisces. Meaning is not discovered through dissolution, but constructed through embodiment. The bull knows that a good meal matters, that physical touch matters, that the accumulation of resources matters, not as spiritual bypassing, but as authentic engagement with the only plane of existence we can verify. The Taurus worldview is fundamentally anti-nihilistic. It does not argue against nihilism philosophically. It simply lives in a way that makes the question irrelevant. When you are fully present in sensory experience, the question, does anything matter, reveals itself as an abstraction of a suffering mind, not a genuine inquiry. Where Pisces sees the futility of all action, Taurus sees the sacredness of right action. Where Pisces becomes paralyzed by infinite possibility, Taurus narrows to what is immediately, tangibly real. The Taurus mantra might be, the body knows what the mind cannot solve. Alright, the unbridgeable gulf. Well, what makes the Pisces-Taurus dynamic tragic rather than complementary is their fundamental incompatibility of epistemology. Pisces cannot become Taurus by trying harder. Their gift is permeability, and permeability is precisely what makes Taurus like solidity impossible. Conversely, Taurus's refusal to dissolve is not stubbornness but wisdom from their perspective. The Pisces who attempts Taurus grounding often becomes merely depressed rather than enlightened. Telling a Pisces to just be present or just set boundaries is like telling a fish to walk. It misses that their very mode of being in the world is different. The Pisces does not choose to be permeable, they simply are, and the attempt to become otherwise is its own form of self-violence. Let's talk about the cynical conclusion here. Perhaps the most Piscean move of all is to recognize that this entire analysis is also meaningless. The fatalist knows that understanding one's patterns does not necessarily change them. The nihilist notes that even the insight "I am nihilistic" is just another ripple on the surface of the void. The cynic smiles and asks why he expected anything different. And somewhere, a Taurus finishes their coffee, feels the warmth of the mug in their hands, and decides that this moment, this ordinary, finite, meaningless moment, is quite enough. The fish watches from the aquarium unimpressed and returns to its endless circling. The water does not ask where it flows, the mountain does not ask why it stands, and neither, in the end, asks the other's permission to be what it is. Thank you for watching this video with peace and love, and I will see you in the next one. Piscean out.